И сейчас позвольте слово предоставить Сасу Куперу, который является, как мы сказали, президентом Международного Союза психологической науки при ЮНЕСКО, самая многочисленная корпорация психологов мира. И несколько слов о господине Купере. Он получил ученую степень по клинической психологии в Бостонском университете в 1989 году. Является также президентом Панафриканского психологического союза, вице-президентом Международного совета по социальным наукам при ЮНЕСКО, почетный член британского и ирландского психологических обществ. Играл очень важную роль в борьбе против апартеида, установлении демократических ценностей в Южноафриканской республике, в развитии и популяризации психологии. А дальше я приведу один факт, который, наверное, очень мало известен, но тем не менее мы помним 70-е годы, а вот как раз в это время господин Купер подвергался политическим репрессиям и был помещен под арест в 1973 году. И провел 9 лет в тюремном заключении на острове Робин вместе с президентом Нельсоном Манделой с 1977 по 1982 год. То есть такой опыт не для каждого психолога был доступен. Является обладателем множества научных наград и премий. Господин Купер, просим.
Thank you very much. It is my distinct pleasure to be here with you today. In this address, I will cover a few areas. I'm going to speak about the first international congress that was held just 5 years after the Russian Psychological Society was formed. I'm going to then cover a little bit of the geopolitical context that we confront, and talk about the challenges that we have in psychology globally and in the region. The International Union is a global umbrella body for psychology. It has country membership, and the Russian Psychological Society is a founder member. The International Union is involved in all areas of psychology, and the main activity really that's of a public nature is the International Congress, which is held every 4 years. We have representation at the United Nations, at the third tier, that is the Economic and Social Council. It's the General Assembly, the Security Council, and the Economic and Social Council. And at the World Health Organization, the International Union is the lead partner in the revision of the ICD, the International Classification of Disorders in the mental health sphere. We have representation in UNESCO, in the International Social Science Council, and the International Council for Science. So if we look at our country membership and our affiliates, we have about 25 affiliates of a regional and international nature. There are over 2 million psychologists that the International Union effectively represents. Julian Ochorovitz was the founder, effectively, of the first International Congress, and he advocated for bringing psychology together, which happened in 1889 in Paris. He called psychology the nicest and most worthy of man. And this Congress was to be the start of the trajectory for international psychology. The Eiffel Tower was being built at that time, and it was on the second level when the first Congress was held. You had Wilhelm Wundt, the founder of scientific psychology. You had Alexander Bain from the UK, Francis Galton, a eugenicist, believer in race supremacy. He was Charles Darwin's cousin. Hewlings Jackson, who was the father of neuropsychology in the UK, Maynard from Austria-Hungary, an anatomist, Karl Lange from Denmark, William James from the United States, Lombroso from Italy, whose theories have been discredited, like the eugenicist theories have been discredited, Angelo Mosso from Italy, who created the first neuroimaging technique, and Papa Freud. Hugo Münsterberg was effectively the founder of applied psychology. And he had a rivalry with Freud and talked of the subconscious mind in 3 words, saying, there is none. He famously died at the podium in Radcliffe where he was speaking. I hope I don't die here. Babinski, you know, was a neuropsychologist, the plantar reflex when kids are born. Tourette syndrome. Kosakov, described as the Pinel of Russia. Binet, the first intelligence test. Jastrow, the Jastrow image. Durkheim, everyone knows Durkheim as the founder of sociology, but he was effectively a psychologist studying anomy and social, religion and social science. Stumpf was, in his laboratory, Gestalt psychology was created. There were women in this first founding conference. Christine Ladd, Josefa Yateko were in this first Congress. Since then, there's the European Federation of Psychologists Associations, which the Russian Psychology Society is a member of, and representing various European and other nations in that region. Then in ASEAN, the Southeast Asian region, we have, after the first tsunami hit in 2004, the ASEAN region got together and created a disaster response for man-made and human disasters. That training is now in its 8th iteration. Then there's the Caribbean Alliance of National Psychology Associations, created in 2011, representing various countries in that basin. And the Pan-African Psychology Union, which held its first Congress last month in South Africa, at which the Russian Psychology Society was present. And we've created an Asia-Pacific Psychology Forum, where they are now currently discussing creating an Asia-Pacific Psychology Alliance. Representatives from 16 Asian countries are considering mutual cooperation in this largest region of the world. What is the psychology reality that we confront? We confront the reality that there isn't critical engagement in this time where morality, where leadership at a global level is sorely missing. We are not engaged in serious policy impact, and there isn't that societal recognition of our discipline. For our recommendations to be taken seriously, we need to invest in ourselves, like the Russian Psychology Society is doing, so that it can play a role nationally, regionally, and internationally. The International Union is involved in the Latin American region, and next year we'll hold a leadership forum in North America so that we can share experiences and knowledge across the world at a regional level, to have regional understanding but also international cooperation. 128 years after the first International Congress was held, psychology has developed in ways that even the best of us can't keep pace with. The knowledge base has developed intensively and very broadly. But psychology as a science is not value-free. The researcher is influenced by his or her value context, and our content tends to be influenced by the context in which we conduct our science. Like other disciplines, the individual scientist and practitioner is influenced by the value proposition that exists in a particular society. While we explain and describe and predict behavior, ours is effectively a predominantly Euro-American discipline. And considerations of serving humanity globally is not uppermost in the minds of most of us. The issues of poverty, hunger, and the right to dignity are daily problems confronting large parts of the world, but are not uppermost in psychologists' mind. As we transition to the Sustainable Development Goals that the United Nations and all our countries have subscribed to, psychology has joined this party, but somewhat lately. And we need to move beyond looking at psychology as merely a mental health issue. Psychology impacts all our lives in various ways. But are we really dealing with these issues for which there aren't quick fix solutions? Psychology, I believe, is a STEM discipline. It's not merely science, technology, and mathematics, engineering that should be STEM disciplines, because none of us exists without an understanding of human behavior. The human being is at the center of all that we study and do. So where do we go from here? We need clear agenda setting to create strong national associations. And I'm aware that the Russian Psychological Society had a hiatus in its history, but I'm pleased that the Russian Psychological Society is at the forefront of regional and international cooperation and development. We need that development that goes beyond narrow self-interest or narrow national interest. We need to be able to reflect on emerging societal concerns, but not only in our countries, in our region, because our borders are porous. The issues impacting on us are issues that come from other places and therefore are part of what we have to confront. We need important and equal exchanges for the benefit of the individual scientist and practitioner, for the institution that she belongs to, for our country, for our region, so that psychology is truly a universal quest that begins to serve all of us, not just a small elite in our society. We are the behavioral experts, not the economists, even though our rector is an economist, but we have understanding of human behavior that very few people have, very few disciplines have. And that's why in economics, people are now talking about behavioral economics. But that study of behavior is psychology's preserve. It's your preserve. It's my preserve. We cannot continue to be bystanders when our world has become susceptible to dangerous fundamentalism that radicalizes youth, where the carriers of terror and mindless hate tend to proliferate in contexts where there isn't openness, where there isn't an understanding of what makes people behave in those terrible ways. We have to restore and claim our humanity across borders and across the world. Psychology is an important discipline that underpins our claim to being human. We need to ensure that our services not only serve rich urban areas, but also is available in rural and underserved communities. And if people don't have the need for psychology. Psychology will reduce itself. And the mark of any discipline's relevance is its ability to describe itself in changing times. Psychology has more than we understand it for the human condition, and psychology needs to survive beyond the narrow confines of its Euro-American base. It needs to serve all of humanity. The next International Congress will be held in Prague after the 1919 European Congress of Psychology to be held in Moscow, and we invite you to be with us as we celebrate psychology internationally. Thank you very much.